technology company, and was selling to enterprises. And I have experience in selling to Fortune 500 companies at C-level, not just to IT folks, to business folks as well. So I can address that.
So I'm Victor Belfor. I'm also mentored.
We need that for this.
Oh. Okay. So I'm also a mentor here on go-to-market strategy and sales and things of that sort. And I just wanted to say a couple of words. So the reason we chose this format, Q&A, is because sales is actually very fragmented, right, and very situational. So the way you would sell a Fortune 500 company and the way you would sell an SMB and the way you would sell a line of business executive versus an IT executive, and like all of these things are quite different. It's also important to point out, and this will, I'm sure, come up during the conversation, that sales does not stand on its own, and it's very deeply interwoven with marketing, with business development, yeah. So one favor I'm going to ask of you is when you ask your question, also say a few words about the context, right? Tell me at least, what stage you are. Tell me a few words about maybe, who your customer is, those kinds of things, right? Just so we can a little bit. That's the only reason to do Q&A, because if you told me like, we're targeting SMBs and we're selling into such and such decision maker and here's the type of product, we could actually do a fairly decent presentation and sort of talk a little bit about different options and how people succeed, how, different ways of doing it and stuff like that. But in a broad sense, that B2B sales is just such a broad category that I think this is the only format that made sense. Tatyana, is that fair enough?
We just wanted to come up not with generic stuff, but be as helpful to your specific situation. So if you can frame your question and explain the context, or like he mentioned, then our answers will be more relevant. Okay? So who wants to start?
Now, do they need a mic too? So you can.
Well, we will repeat.
We'll repeat. Okay.
So, hands going up.
Well, he has a list.
Yes, yeah, so...
Some of these don't have that much context, so but I can start. One of them is, how did you choose to sell to enterprise companies?
Okay. So, can you pick some other question? It's very...
The context is kind of weird, so let's see.
Hey, come on in.
One of them asks about deal length, like how much work is involved in closing a deal.
Okay, so let me start from start, like just to give you a little bit background, right? Like if you look at how many of you are thinking of selling to enterprises? Okay, 3, 4.
Ask them how they define what
and what the enterprise is. Is it the size or what type of what's an enterprise in your view?
Over 500 employees.
Okay, so
Over
it's SMB.
Employees.
Okay. Anything else? I mean, any other question? No.
I mean, clearly, you guys are B2B guys, right? So, kind of by the show of hands, right? Who's going after SMB market? Okay. Who's going after, let's say, mid-tier, however the hell you define mid-tier?
What is mid-tier in your definition?
Mid-tier, I would say...
200 to 500?
Billion? Million?
200 to 500
employees.
Okay, so still SMB-ish, but not quite as...
Not quite
so
as...
that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair, I'll take that definition. And who's going after, like...
Big guys.
The elephants.
We plan to.
You plan to?
But the sweet spot is right now is mid-market, and we plan to go upwards.
Okay.
Okay. So that...
I'll come to the idea, and that's an underserved market in our product.
Yeah, one of the questions was from someone else from San Francisco that how do I find people? How do I approach people in those companies? So I know I want to go and sell? So the answer is you're doing a lot of research on your own. So at this stage where you guys aim to hire anyone else to do sales for you, where you're basically evangelizing and trying to get in, and you are the one who actually understands all the insides and outs of your product, the easiest way is for you to do good research and find those people who are in those roles. And in most cases, you'll have to do cold calling, right? So what you really have to be good at understanding sales process, right? And the sales process starts with, leads, and then qualified, unqualified leads, and so on, right? Now, when you are approaching directly your first customer, right, potential customer, then you, in your mind, kind of realized, well, we want to target them, but it's not a qualified lead yet. Why it's not qualified lead yet? Because you don't know if they need what you have. You don't know if they have budget. You don't know their timeline. Make sense? Yeah. So it's a lead, but it's still unqualified. So the first goal you have is to meet with those people, but before you meet with them, you need to initiate your contact, right? Now, when people send long standard blurbs, like marketing stuff, to executive in a company that they want to meet with, usually that email automatically gets deleted. Why? Because if you think you don't have time, those people don't have time either, right? So what helps real well is to do research on that industry, on that company, and be very specific on why it's important for them to meet with you. You don't want to say everything that you do, because the goal of that email is to get a meeting. You would not close your deal via that email, right? Make sense? I just want to start some kind of discussion. So.
Yeah, I want to hear the answer. Let's do questions. What else we got? We'll just go through the list. We'll find out if there's anything there. Well, let's finish with that piece of paper, just so we're done with it.
Just read what's on.
Yeah, let's do that.
Build versus license. Did this come up? If so, how did you overcome this?
Build versus license. That sounds like an inbound question. Do you build yourself, or do you license from somebody, or is that an objective? Okay.
I think what the question means that how you overcome concerns. Like company says, oh, we can build it ourselves. Why would they buy from you?
Right. So that's actually a really good question. Depends on your core value proposition, right? So, and this is something they're going to be, again, talking about today a lot. Like, you need to know your audience. You really need to understand what your customers react to, right? So when you frame your value proposition, one of the things a typical kind of a scenario for value proposition is something that goes along the following lines. I am this. This is my identity. This is what I do. I am a mid-sized car for, young families with small children. I am an IT solution for overworked, mid-level IT managers who don't know how to manage their accounting and I don't know, right? So that's number one. Number two in the value proposition is that how do you actually help them solve their problem, right? So I'm a small car for families. What I do for them is, sell the car very cheaply, and the car is really convenient and comfortable, designed for comfort of children, and it has mats on the floor, in case children puke or something, all right? And then the third one is also need to very clearly understand what alternatives, and that's the third part of your standard value proposition, is what are the alternatives? So the answer to the question, what would the customer do in the absence of my solution, right? So for those cars, and if I didn't exist, these guys would drive another car, or use a stroller, or do something else, or use another solution. So that gets to the question, right? So one of the alternatives is they can build something, right? So you need to be acutely aware of why they would not want to do them themselves. Now, what are the typical things people say? Number one, building shit in-house nowadays is stupid, all right? It's not scalable. You cannot innovate with the same speed as people whose sole job in the world is to do just that, right? If your job in the world is to be the best, give me a company of something, like I need somebody, you're looking at me funny. What do you do?
We're Binpress, we're a marketplace for open source projects. So
if you are delivering libraries of open source code, right? There is no way that somebody needs to build their own in-house solution to attract developers to post stuff there, right? You can do that, and if you're Microsoft or Google or something like that, you could theoretically do something like this, but there is no reason you should, because you will never get the mind share internally. You need a body on it at all times, somebody who's going to innovate, somebody who's going to make... That's one part. And the second part, of course, is the reason we have this cloud economy now is because everybody understands pay-as-you-go is actually better, right?
Can I add a couple more reasons? I think, the couple more reasons to add to what Victor said. One is every single company has their core business. So if I'm making cars, that's where my IP is. And I'm not a software company to start with, right? So that's number one. Number two is always time to market. Yes, you can hire all those people and become, part of the social company, but it'll take time for you to come up with something that you guys have. And this is very important in an economy like this, where you're always in a catch-up mode, right? And thirdly, when you research that space real well, you understand all the trends. So you're deploying this, you're working on the next release, and that handshakes with innovation, that you guys will always be sure that you have all the new functions and you will update your product and so on. So I think for all those reasons, in general, for most of the companies, it doesn't make sense to build their own.
I mean, some companies strategically choose to have NIH and have, not invented here and do
But this is your talking points.
Full vertical, and then sometimes it doesn't work. But just to summarize, because I think what Tatyana said was extremely important, right? So very quickly, just 3 key points, right? Time to market, pace of innovation and maintaining, and cost. These are the 3 reasons why somebody who is licensing has an advantage over somebody who's building. What were you going to say?
I want to go back to what you said in the beginning about framing. The problem is for us, we used to give those core values. We innovate faster, we have people dedicated, it's their main thing, so it's more mature, etc. We don't even need to explain that anymore, but the problem is, as a marketplace, we have a lot of products. So when we try to approach someone, cold email or cold call, we don't know exactly what their needs are. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to just sell a marketplace. Yeah. We need to offer them specific solutions.
Right.
This is our main sales problem.
Okay, so what you described is solved by consultative sales approach. So there are different types of sales. There are sales where you can put button on your website and people will buy, right? But there is a consultative sale, and the scenario you described falls into that category, where you don't necessarily tell everything that you do, but you discuss with the company on what type of issues they have and frame this. I was selling highly configurable products. So my product was doing many different things for many different companies. So for me to come to the company and tell them, oh, we can do this, this, and this, just didn't make any sense, because it could have been completely irrelevant to their business problems. So I would come to the first meeting if I was, I was lucky enough to get that meeting, even without my laptop, because I didn't want to go through my slides. What I wanted to hear was to understand the issues, and we'll go around the table. Hopefully you have a few more people, and you have a discussion with them, and you say, I don't want to present you a generic set of slides, because I really want to come up with something that's relevant, that will actually solve your business problems. So if you fail to initiate those discussions, and I can give you an example, I was trying for a long time to open doors to the guy who was leading tech support for one of the top automotive companies. And those are support to technicians on the field, to all the dealerships, right? So finally, he said, okay, come and talk to us. I walked in there, from that automotive company, 20 males, mechanical engineers from different fault problems within the car. And they said, okay, so tell us what you do. I was like, okay, that's not what I like to do. I like to, to kind of have a conversation. So I opened my laptop and I did a couple of slides and I said, okay, can we just go around the table? I want to understand what you guys, who does sound, what type of issues, and what's wrong, or where you see gaps between what you need with current systems, right? Silence. So I go through another couple of slides, and no one is interacting with me, so I'm feeling that I just can't get to, and it will be pointless for me to go through the whole deck because it will be most likely irrelevant. So I closed my laptop and I said, based on your reaction, I think what we do doesn't make any sense to any of you, so I'm sorry for wasting your time. We need to close. They said, no, actually it was very interesting. And I said, well, I can't solve your problem if I don't know what problems you guys are having. So after that, we went and we had very good discussions, and we ended up closing deal with that company. So that was an extreme case, but ideally in some of the situations, and it's not a recipe for all the sales, but for some type of sales, you really need to figure out how to open up those conversations.
And I'm actually a little surprised to hear this in your situation. I think it's actually worth diving into, not in this format, but maybe sort of because unless you know what you can do for this person or for this company, you shouldn't be wasting time reaching out to them. I'm confused why you get into that situation, right?
We had some success with it.
But that's I need to understand that better, right? Because I would never sort of waste my time unless I know.
No, we're not going to set up a meeting and send you guys over. We're doing a mail blast and we're trying to get some mind share. People starting a conversation with us, but the beginning, what to put in that mail that we send out is very difficult. We're trying to continue.
So let's talk this offline. I would love to understand better what you're running into. And then I think this sounds like a solvable problem. It just sounds like a very particular problem to your situation, and I don't know if we necessarily need to do this in this format, but that sounds totally reasonable. So this is kind of a little bit less on sales and actually more on positioning and marketing, which is what I said in the beginning. But marketing,
yeah,
right?
it's marketing.
Which is what I said in the beginning. It's going to get interwoven very, very quickly. So here we go. All right. Any other? What's your name? Mark.
Another one I saw in here was how do you figure out pricing? Were you afraid of being too expensive versus being too cheap?
Right. So I'll take a first crack. So usually pricing is triangulated, especially for new products, right? So the way it's triangulated is the following way. So you look at your cost and what can you deliver. Now, given sort of what I know about 500 startups, chances are costs are, zero. Usually, right? We're all in very, very small cost of goods areas, unless somebody's doing payment processing and things like that, or in the case of a marketplace, there might be some kind of a rev share or something like that. So great. So we have an example where it gets a little bit more complicated. But so cost is something clearly to keep in mind. Second is how much value does it generate, right? And value, this is something, the ROI on your product, you should figure out how to do this, and it's really, really, really hard. it's really hard. Most people don't really know. Most companies, mature companies, don't really know the full ROI of their product for their customers, right? So very often, like, you know, I'll give you an example. You're doing some kind of a marketing thingy that moves conversion needle. You improve somebody's conversion by 5%, right? What is that in terms of ROI? You have no idea. Because chances are you don't know what their margins are, you don't know, you don't know any of these things, right? So, the best way I know, like, either you get from your customer the actual information, which sometimes they will share, and which is great. Alternatively, you build a proxy. You model it. You really model it. You go like, by using our service, you're going to save yourself yay much time, and an average dude is going to cost yay much per hour, and so that would mean savings of this. And you're going to need to do, and you built out some kind of a proxy for what value you add to this service, right? So that's the third, and the fourth is that, the second and the third is what I was talking about originally, the cost of the alternative. An alternative, don't ever look at alternatives as purely your competitors. You know, what are you up against? Oh, I'm up against, razorfish.com. Okay, great. So, because why? Because they do exactly the same thing that I do. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the only way to solve the problem that you're solving. So be very aware of the other ways that companies use to solve the problem and understand their ROI vis-a-vis each one of those. So if they still do their accounting in Excel, Excel is free. But then it has to be done manual and they have to type, right? So make sure you triangulate in those three ways, and somewhere and within that range, now you can fuck around with it.
So 2 more points that important to consider when you set up pricing. One is competitors, how they price. You need to know that, because if 5 companies or 3, 4 companies that you compete against price in certain price range, if you go way above, that wouldn't make any sense. So you need to take that into consideration. And on cost of doing nothing, there is an aspect where in some cases, it's like if you don't deploy this product, sometimes it's very hard to give like real numbers on ROI, but what you can say is, for example, if tomorrow you will be sued by someone, if there will be a security breach, and you wouldn't be able to figure out what and how, what will be the damage. So there are many different ways on how to come up with ROI. It's not necessarily, savings, that's obvious, but it also cost of recovering from something going wrong. So if you add all those dimensions, then you should be able to price it.
Yeah, and by the way, to add to the ROI, and like I said, it's really hard, and if you need help to figure out what it is for you, like, talk to us. But also doing this modeling really brings you close to the customer. Like, it's an amazingly useful exercise in general, because you really get to know how your customer thinks. You start kind of, how else do I save money? How else do I, make them more money? Like, what do they want, right? They want to either save money or make money, right? One or the other, right? So, but all the ways in which your product can have an impact on them, when you come in and actually talk to them, the reaction you get because of the depth of understanding of their business that you're going to exhibit is ridiculous. Like, you're going to get respect instantaneously. So it's a really, really useful exercise.
Yeah. Anything more questions on this, on pricing?
Maybe I want to add something. Just
yes.
From people I've been talking to in dispatch,
Get up on stage.
Yeah. Hey, my name is Adam. Yeah, you can sit here.
As long as your chair is shorter than my chair, you can say.
So, yeah, it's a bit bigger than I expected. So, an observation that I found out by talking to other people from Dispatch and also other company and also publishers on Beanpress is that people generally always underprice their services and product. Kind of, they are always afraid to charge more. And sometimes by just adding another 20% or 30% to their prices, then they don't see the needle going down and they sell the same amount and make another 30%. So we've done that on Beanpress. We try to reach out to publishers and get them to increase their prices. And in certain cases, it's also help with conversion because there is, the price is basically the value prospection. It's a signal to people that this is a quality service versus to another service that's, $20 for this per month.
Do you have an MBA?
No. Why?
Signaling, all this garbage.
It's signaling. He said signals. You should. I heard signal. I was like, signaling.
Right. No, it's a really good point. But I'm not,
So people just increase their prices.
I usually, the way I frame this is small company syndrome. So if you guys have that syndrome, just don't do it, right? So you don't need to apologize being small and being a startup. You build damn good product. It solves real business problems. So if you going and selling and apologizing, I'm sorry, there are like 3 of us and 5 of them in India, that doesn't cut it, right? Because you have to be confident you build exceptionally, like, great product. It solves real business problems. And that's what's important. So if you say, I really want to sell to Cisco, but that's Cisco and that's us, you guys should stop doing anything. Like, that should be out of your system immediately, right? Everyone started small, every company. So to be apologetic and reduce prices and give away and that, you need to do, certain things just to get in the door, understand, but not apologize for and not have that small company syndrome, because that will hurt you a lot.
I mean, in all fairness, like, you drop your pants if you need to show a couple of marquee names, on your list, and that has nothing to do with what she said.
No.
Right. So you're doing it deliberately. That's what it takes. But that doesn't have any impact on the regular pricing of the product, right? So there is no.
Now, I just recently had discussion with one of the companies in this batch on pilots, right? And pilots and how you do them. So I have done free pilots, but I never done pilots where I don't have success factors predefined. So I always have time frame and I always agree on criteria. How do we know it was successful? So if you company ABC is willing to try our product, we agreed. How long you will be trying it for? And you brainstorm. You're not telling, that's a week after week. No, because they need to see certain values, right? Now, both of you and the company have to agree on how they know that it was a successful pilot. So if you don't know and they don't know, they're not paying for the product, maybe they have it and they're not even using it. So this is very important to frame it in a way that you guys have a follow-up sale. And this is, in most of the cases, not a prescription. I mean, if you know exactly in what time frame, what type of results they can see and why and what, that's fine. In some cases, it's a discussion with your potential client.
What else we got, Mark?
Can I ask a question specifically on that, though?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I totally agree about the messaging and the door in terms of not saying you're a small startup. It's like we have a fucking good product and that's all that matters. But when I was talking about the Amazon people about what we were trying to do with that, which I can explain, but their biggest thing is like, can you do whatever you're doing at Amazon scale, which is the very next question. So I can go in and say, look where the motherfucker shit. But like, if the next question is like, well, can you do what you're doing, but multiply times like literally 1,000,000% of what you're doing right now. Mm-hmm. That if I know that's the very next sentence, how does that factor into what you're talking about?
I think what you want to do, Amazon will buy not because you have a great product. They buy because they trust you. So you're not claiming that you have 1,000 people in every city in the world, right? You don't, right? So if you know that what will be the next question, you can put it on front, you can put it on the table. You can say, I know you probably have concerns that we don't have, like, technicians or PC fix those people in every city. Can we frame it to this cities to start with? Meanwhile, we'll be adding more. So you're not shying away. You're not pretending to get into some kind of thing that you can't meet those Amazon requirements. But you know that you have critical mass in 2-3 cities. So you say, can we start with this ones? Tell us where your next major market is, where you sell PCs, and we'll start building our presence there. So you're not hiding, you're not lying.
I feel like I'm out of some, insider joke. You know.
Adam mentioned meeting with Tatyana.
Got it. So what do you guys do?
Yeah, it's geekitude.com, and it's basically crowdsource Geek Squad. So we have 3,000
crowdsource
Geek Squad.
Geek Squad. Got it.
Exactly. So we have providers across the country. It's just the trick is, and we have a ton in the Bay Area, New York, LA. We actually have a good, decent spread, but it's still the next question. They're like, can you do it at Amazon?
Yeah. So what you're talking about is an obviously age-old issue of that's usually referred to as vendor viability, right? So what Tatyana said about being fearless and going after Cisco and whatever, notwithstanding. Enterprises have to make sure that the vendors that deliver services to them or to their customers or through them or whatever are actually viable. Back in the day, the way we solved it is we put like software in escrow and, guarantee, all kinds of guarantees. The reality is that in today's world, you can't do that. Like, you're offering software as a service. So then the question is, can you deliver it at scale that's needed? And I'm not talking about your specific business. I'm talking about any business in general, right? If you're a cloud company, cloud services, and your cloud service runs on Amazon, then the question from Amazon, can it scale, is kind of like, oxymoronic a little bit, right? Like,
but they're looking at real people.
No. That's why I said that it has nothing to do with them specifically. Now, there are obvious bottlenecks so there are companies whose business models or whose products have obvious bottlenecks. Yours is a great example of something like that. Just be upfront and you basically say, look, I have this amazing, and let them make it, and there will be some number of them that are going to say, dude, I love you, but you're too early for me. And then you take your shit and leave, right? And that's all right, and call them in a year. But everybody will appreciate the fact that you're sincere, that you're open, that you don't have your head up your ass. And some of them will do this. Is it cool enough that I'm willing to take a risk? And, and then you gotta, put your stuff on the table too and say, like, look, I have good investors. I have a good team. I'm not about to go out of business. Right, but there is no silver bullet here. But you have to be honest, otherwise they'll never talk to you, and that's going to be really bad for everybody.
And if you have a rollout strategy, again, you can say, you can exactly, and right. No, and that's win-win because they're not risking their marketing everywhere. So yeah.
That could be like a huge part of their strategy.
Right.
Like they want a pilot. They don't want a national rollout as their first. Right. So don't like get into your own head too deeply. Like be honest, be upfront.
Right. Yeah.
We face the same situation in India.
Okay.
So I run a portal called School Admissions. So we tied up with the largest mobile operator in India regarding launching our services as a VAS product. Providing admissions helpline on their network, and they wanted multiple cities to be there when they wanted to launch, to create a big bang, and we said, so sorry, we can't do that. But I can assure you that we can do New Delhi the best at this moment. So if I had committed maybe, I would have
overcommitted, right? No.
And might not have been able to perform as good as they might be expecting. So I just asked.
Yeah, and this is excellent. The thing is, you are not selling the stable where you sold the stable and you will not you will not be selling this table to Amazon in the next 100 years, right? So you want to come to them with the messaging that you are with them together, and it's not one-day relationship. So you want to be successful, and your success depends on them being successful. So whatever you do, it's win-win, and you're doing in a way that it's not like you commit to something that you know you can't deliver. Why? Right? It doesn't make any sense.
How we treat them is that we told them that if we do the pilot well,
Yeah.
we can go to our investors and tell them, so we have got this client who's quite happy.
Right.
We need more money.
Yeah.
So that's how it works out.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, and don't second guess yourself in the sense that let the customer tell you, right? Because specifically in case of mobile carriers, for example, I don't know specifically India, but I'm willing to bet that each market has its own owner, its own P&L, its own, right? So this national rollout may actually not be necessary. Like for all you know, we're completely happy rolling it out in a single market because there is one guy responsible for that market, owns the P&L for. I don't know if that's the case with Amazon, maybe, maybe not, right? But let them tell you. Go ahead, yeah?
Actually, I have like 4 questions.
Nice.
Okay.
Woo. Pull up a chair.
So I'm Mohit. I'm a CEO of a company called Dakwak, DAKWAK.com. It's a website translation technology. We help businesses translate their websites effortlessly. So yeah, we're targeting businesses. So my questions. So how to say?
Let him be an example to all of you people. This is how you.
So
They're just afraid to fall.
So how to segment the market for the sales teams to ensure high efficiency and avoid conflict of interest for sales teams on the long run. So like geographically, by industry, mixture, that's the first one. So efficiency for the sales team. The second one.
Let me tackle it real quick before we forget. So this is really product dependent, right? If your product is highly verticalized, makes sense to do it by vertical. If your product is very, in your case, for example, you're doing languages, right? So in your case, it actually might make a lot of sense to do geographic because then you're doing certain concentration. But it really depends on the product, and you need to understand at what point does the product really change, right? Because salespeople have a difficult time adjusting to like great degrees of complexity. So my guidance on this needs to be purely product driven. If your product changes from region to region, then you worry about regions. If it changes from vertical to vertical, if it changes in both directions, then you will have region and vertical, which is also totally okay.
Okay. So, number one, if you have more than 3, 4, 5 salespeople that will be doing this, use CRM, use Salesforce. I mean, to manage that, and so you know what accounts you assign to what reps. So you manage that within CRM. So don't do it in a paper. There will be lots of conflicts. In most of the cases, if
Can I just?
Yes.
So we're using a software called Nutshell.
I don't know that one.
Yeah,
But
it's a Salesforce kind of.
okay. Okay. So you can assign.
I mean, it's very powerful. So anyone
Okay.
who
Okay.
wants to use
Now.
CRM for a cheap price, you can use that. Nutshell.com.
Now.
Is that
I don't care as long as you have a way of tracking things. I mean, it becomes important, right? The second thing is you really need to talk about segmentation. So if you're selling to different sizes of companies, so if you have companies like Fortune 100, right? It's a different types of sale. So sometimes we have strategic sales executives, and they know. Oh, this died. Oh, back. Okay. So in many cases, companies who they split. They said, okay, those are strategic accounts, and they have special people who know how to sell to those accounts, because the sales process will look differently. Now you go below, and below, again, how you sell. Do you sell on the website? Do you sell via marketing? And what role salespeople have in the whole this process? Okay. Because, I mean, it's not like there is not one fit everything. It really has to make sense to how you sell.
Because we're a website translation, we're targeting small to medium-sized businesses who are cross borders, who are already traveling websites, for example, rental websites, for example. So, I mean, how?
And they come to your website and they can buy.
We're blogging, so they can just come to the website, sign up on the fly, get their website up and running in different languages on the fly, translatable to different languages professionally and in different levels, without doing anything from it.
So you're talking about inside sales.
Yep.
Okay. So let's talk about terminology. There is a sales, and those are sales folks who make phone calls, who meet, who answer before they close. In this case, the customers can come to the website and buy. So what he's talking about, lead gen, basically, inside sales. Those are the people who send those emails, who make those calls, whatever they do. It's part actually of, cross marketing and sales. For them, you just probably do geographically. Because SMBs, it's not like you need special skills. It's the same skills. You just need to train. Are they making phone calls or just emails?
We're just emails now.
Just emails, okay.
People are just coming, landing the page.
Right. So in your case, what's important is to create few versions of different emails and track, right? Because most likely your first messaging will not be the one that actually makes people to click on email. So you need to track, right? People got email, how many open them? If they open, it seems like your title, whatever, looks good. Now, right, if you have any links with an email they didn't click on any, then the contact, whatever, it wasn't relevant, wasn't good enough, whatever. So, step by step, so you kind of nail the thing that works, that people open it, they click what they want. If they come to your website after the email did whatever email was supposed to do, and they didn't buy, go to your website and figure out what you need to change on your website. Okay, so, yeah.
So I'm going to ask.
How many?
Looking for the email, actually. I don't know where. Yeah. So the other question, how to determine best business size to start with, to attack initially. That will result in our best combination of basically shortest sales cycle period and least support needed for those people. So we're trying to go like with the least resources possible. So we basically don't really waste much money trying to figure out where we should go. So
just that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the way usually you try to frame it in your mind for whatever you do is, am I an Advil? Is it just a headache or it's a migraine? So your goal is to find the initial market segmentation where it's a migraine for them. It's a pain in the rear end. It's not just minor headache and what you do, just give them an Advil, right? That So in your case, you have to look at industries, geographies they sell to, and figure out how much pain they have today manually doing. And so your messaging to them becomes very clear. For you guys, you're selling to those 5-6 countries to maintain all that, and you do updates and manually go and update and translate. That's painful. Look how many people you have, that stuff. So now, if you have a company that mostly does in one language, maybe in a second one, well, it's an Advil. They might not, and especially if it's on the border, most of the people speak those two languages. It's nice to have, but it's not must. So just whatever you do, just try your initial sales to do to companies that your solution actually is solving the big pain?
In your particular case, isn't that information, isn't a lot of information available from like Alexa and Compete.com? Like, can you not tell?
This is what I'm doing already.
Can you not tell like how much traffic comes from international?
Exactly. Yeah. So this is what I'm doing already. So now I'm collecting that information and recommending back after like 7 days of their trial, recommending that they should translate those languages based on your Alexa,
right,
or based on your Google Analytics.
Right.
You can,
SpyFu or whatever, whoever does that shit, yeah.
So you can just pull the APIs and give.
But that's.
Yeah. So this is still in the process. So that was that. I mean,
no, but that's exactly what I would do. I would just like you go like whoever's got a lot of international traffic. It seems like it's maybe less of the function of size as it is the function of
how many languages, how many
different geography, right?
Also, is basically the segment of which market. Like, should we focus like on the sales on the SaaS companies right now, like we sell our software or our service to the SaaS companies, or should we do it for the e-commerce, for example? So we have different evenly distributed segmentation. We're lost in home to focus. So we have like 30% from here, 30% from here, 30% from here. They're different sectors. So should we focus on those 3 verticals of websites? Or should we just get one?
I mean, intuitively when I listen, I would say, okay, if I'm writing to e-commerce company, I can say, listen, this your translation sucks, or you losing sales. So it could be like a pain, I'm losing real money because people don't understand and whatever. So intuitively, it seems like it could be real pain that they want to solve. But you have to look at your data, right, and see if that's my intuition sells. That could be an easy sell. But
I really agree, because what it sounds like to me, if you go after a SaaS company, like a SaaS company, in order to enter a new market, they need to figure out how to sell. They need to do a ton of work, right? So this is a strategic decision for them, whether they want to launch that market or not. Now, that decision may be informed by the fact that you exist. Like, they didn't know you existed, and they thought that they would need to localize and do all of these complicated things, but now that you're here, maybe it's much easier. So it's worth talking to these people, right? But in the case of e-commerce, they don't depend on it. I mean, people come, they don't know where they come from, and they just buy. So it seems like a much more compelling, it seems like lower hanging fruit.
It seems like it's just clear how
like
you can
intuitively.
You're losing sales because you're not.
Yep. Thank you. So, I mean, we're still figuring out. We're a startup, so we're still figuring out things. So it might be a beginner question, but so I mean, our sales approach, should it be like a cold calling approach? Should it be like generating leads through generating content on blogs, social media, LinkedIn, whatsoever? Or I mean,
yeah. So this is back to this sort of marketing / sales / whatever. So unlike Tatyana, I fundamentally do not believe in cold calls. I think there is no excuse in the world to do a cold call. All right, you can do a warm call, or you can do marketing, or you do a combination of the two.
I mean, it really depends. I mean, if you Yelp, you only do cold calls, right? Yes. All the time. That's how they do. Yes. They did, and that's how they're doing every single day. Right. So there is no, and again, it's so specific.
Yep.
So I mean, again, if we're going after like micro companies, then you don't do any calls, you market. You lead gen, you market, you blog, you content, you do thought leadership, you do, everything in the world that has to do with that, right? But unless you can have unless you can set up a inside sales farm in the Philippines, which people do, and it works reasonably well. Philippines are not funny. Oh, good. No, but I mean, that's...
That's what you do.
We said that before.
No, but I mean, I'm not knocking it. I'm saying unless you can do that, or unless you're willing to do that.
Oh, Yelp is doing everything from San Francisco, so they don't have anyone. So I'm just like...
Yeah. So unless you're willing to do that, or unless you're willing to raise as much money as Yelp did, that's probably not a good idea, right? So if you're going after micro SMB or like lower end of SMB, you lead gen the shit out of it, right? Now, if you do have a hot list of companies that you know their websites suck, and you know they happen to have a fair bit of traffic coming from abroad, and you just know that they're like aching for a solution, LinkedIn, man, like go figure it out. But cold calls just they might work in micro SMB because the guy who picks up the phone is usually the owner of the company, all right? But as soon as you get like degrees of yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So in general, I mean, cold calling usually it's for the big companies or micro, but it's for specific types of companies. In most of companies I've talked to here, it's not applicable, by the way. Now, marketing strategy. So going back to your segmentation, you decided, okay, we'll go again and we'll try to sell to e-commerce companies, whoever you decide to sell. Then you need to understand who is my buyer, like who will make this decision. And whoever that person is, you need to understand where are they on the web. Like, can you buy email list and send them emails? Do they have discussion boards? Are they on Facebook? Probably not. Are they on Twitter? Probably not. You see what I mean? So don't make something that doesn't make sense, but everyone else is doing. So if you're saying selling to webmasters, they probably have the technical discussions on HTML5, whatever, and go and blog there. Stack Overflow. You see what I mean? So you know who you're selling to, right? And you need to understand where are those people. What do they do? What do they read? What discussions forums? Are they on Facebook, Twitter? They're not on Pinterest, right? And find those places and see how you can engage with them where they are, not where it's convenient for you. Make sense?
This is great.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So the last one, sorry guys.
Yes. Yes.
So it's the business-to-business affiliation programs. So does it work? Does it work?
Like CJ?
Like, I mean, affiliation, like...
So someone resells
the
it's good. It's all good.
Like website development agency?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you got the margin for it.
Yeah.
To me, if you can figure out sell to one, and they will sell to 1,000, that's all good.
Yeah, so, because I can white label the solution for them.
I never want to hear that word. Guys, like, crying out loud. Like, you're in 500 startups. Just like, don't use the word white label in my presence.
What does it mean?
I mean, every year, TNC Global publishes enterprise value reports, market cap reports for the U.S. stock market, right? And every year they calculate the enterprise value and the brand value. And the brand value is about 40% of the U.S. stock market, right? So if you want to discount your company by 40% by not establishing a brand, you're free to do that. But unless there's a really, really, really compelling reason to do it, it's usually not a good idea. Look at Intel, right? Freaking chip. Like, why should anybody know? Definitely. Right? And
powered by.
Powered by something,
That's so powered by isn't white label solution.
White label? No.
So
powered by.
So three degrees, right? 3 degrees. Branded, co-branded, white label. So powered by is co-branded.
Okay.
Yeah, it's powered by.
You're done. Enough of you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you. Get out of here.
Call the back row.
Hi guys, my name is Ayan. I'm the co-founder and CTO of a company called Credai.com. Credai.com, CREDII.com. We've built a recommendation engine for software buyers to find the best software and services. So we are catering to mid-market CIOs and decision makers who buy software and services. And essentially we are generating qualified leads for software vendors. We are not doing only reviews. What we are doing is we've built an interactive app which asks these buyers specific questions around their needs, around their budget.
It's like a wizard, basically.
It works. It works. So on the left, it works. I can, on offline, I can demo you, and we throw in real-time results, and there are filters around various parameters, and we also have written a crawling infrastructure which gets the social signal for different products. So right now we are catering to decision makers in the mid-market. Gartner and Forrester they have a monopoly in the enterprise, but they are doing it in a very different way. They are writing reports. So my question is that, how do we approach these? So we have around 800 businesses using our tools right now, and how do we approach different vendors, because we are generating highly qualified leads.
So you have a little bit of a two-sided market.
Yeah, it's a two-sided market. We are helping the buyer side. In the process, we are going to make money for the vendor side as well.
And your question is about which side of those two sides?
Yeah, so which side how do we increase the acquisition funnel on the buyer side, and what's on the buyer side, and what's the approach on the vendor side in terms of selling them leads? How do we price them and things like that?
I can tell you what I did. I kind of did at one point of time quite a bit of consulting in social CRM space, right? And I really wanted to come up with the easy way of getting all the players in social CRM space when it was like brand new, 2007, 8, and 9, And so I created this ranking for the blogs, and I said, okay, here's all the top blogs in social CRM space. So I knew all the top players, and I published it, and I did hell of a marketing from that one. And I created a form where they can add, other, and that was it. Basically people said, okay, I'm not on that list. All those, big people are, and I'm not. So they start adding, and it was very comprehensive. So what you need to do, I think, you're selling to CIOs, and you probably have different category of products, right? So within those categories, you need to start creating some kind of survey results and publish those in blogs. And if you create nice graphs, you can start Pinterest and everywhere. So basically a CEO, wherever you can, and say, oh, these are top vendors in CRM space. These are top vendors in shipment tracking. There's whatever those categories are. So by the way, if you're not listed and you want to be listed, here's how you can get there. Okay. You create kind of competition. Wow, those top 5, 10 other. So that's on the vendor side. On CIO side, the strategy is slightly different, by the way.
Could not possibly agree anymore. So on the CIO side, it's SEO, as creative and as hacky as you want to get about it. I mean, that's exactly, best lists work fantastic. In your case, they're very relevant, right? All of these things work great. How do you price leads? That's really, really hard. And so I will say something that's not an absolute truth. Usually what I say is absolute truth. It's like coming directly from God, right? Not in this case. So I have a kind of a fundamental sort of religious belief that lead gen businesses that do not perform will die. And you cannot rescue it, right? So in which case I believe that the CEO, the founders of lead gen businesses should be willing to price for performance. In which case it's really easy, right? And like you assume 90% of the risk, right? But then all your problems disappear, other than the risk, right? Because then you know exactly what their cost of acquisition is. So you know that you know, usually if you're a SaaS company, your cost of acquisition, like and I don't know what the segment is and whatever, right? But you can figure out the cost of acquisition for each segment. It's like, the averages are public knowledge, right? So we can dig into it, but it's public knowledge, right? So you basically say, you know, I'm going to be 20% below that. Right, so if they know that their cost of acquisition, they know what their cost of acquisition is, right? So you basically say, A, I will only charge you for conversion. Like, it's not CP something, it's CP something else, right? So it's not lead and then that lead, then they either convert it or not. We will only charge you when it converts, right?
Rev share, because a smaller vendor mentioned that, you know, if it converts, we're ready to pay 6 months upfront of that.
So Ring Central paid 4 months.
Okay.
Right. So, but just to finish my thought, so pay for performance is a huge deal. You are completely de-risking the decision. And also another thing, and this is, by the way, another thing that, like, I'm sorry, I'm going to double back all the way to the beginning of the conversation. I said that we're going to interweave sales, marketing, and business development. We're actually going to interweave the product as well. Right. So the product itself, it's really, really important to make your product easily trialable. Right? So constant, deliberate, relentless elimination of barriers to adoption, right? Eliminating risk is one of the biggest barriers to adoption that you can eliminate, right? So I would absolutely give that a shot. Because the problem is that if you don't, they will measure you over time and they will still leave you, right? If you don't perform in a lead gen environment, you will not survive anyway. So try pay for performance, like.
One more question.
Sure.
On the buyer side, right? So mid-market.
The CIO side.
The mid-market companies are the ones who don't have a budget for research. The enterprise ones have. So they have got Gartner subscriptions, got Forrester subscriptions. They're talking to consultants a lot. So at what point do you think that we could go upstream as well? Because we believe the product that we are coming up with is actually better than these current research companies.
So I'll tell you what I think in your particular case. Because the strategy is going to be very much driven by SEO, or should be in my mind at least, right? And because of the BYOA phenomena, you don't actually, I'm not sure that it's the CIO that's your customer.
It's going to be decision makers.
It can be line of business. It can be individual employees. In which case, I don't know how to help you segment. I think it will happen organically. I don't know how to help you segment. Tatyana, do you have any thoughts on this?
For big companies, the way it usually works, it's, you know, they build out of RFP.
Yeah.
You know? So what you're saying with you guys, they don't need to build RFP, because your RFP, you guide them.
It's an
right.
RFP generation. So
right.
by the time you
right.
and you start 70, you come at 5.
Right.
Your RFP is already been generated.
Right. So there might be a way to market it as such, right?
That's cool. It's a great idea.
So you need to understand, because it's a pain for them to build an RFP. Usually the way it works. Then they have this team of people who gets those RFPs. They look at all this. No, they have long list. Then they go through all the responses for the long list. Then they go short list. Now, if you know all the process, that's how you should market. And they have a whole bunch of people who have their day job doing this crap that they're not skilled at. And yes, they do have subscription to Gartner and everything else, but it's not free for all. Okay? So think about that and think how you can write some white papers on how the space is changing and how you can save them tons of resources, tons of time and headache. It's a pain. No one loves it. No one. Because you have to compare apples and oranges. It's I mean, dreadful thing for all of them. And you know that. So you need to just market it.
You need to get.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question regarding the pay-per performance. Once you do that, and you don't do a fixed price per lead, which I understand your motivation. I think it's
one does not necessarily mean the other. The pay for performance does not mean that you only do rev share. You can charge a hard price for the lead, but my point is that you don't. It's not for the lead. It's for conversion, and it also requires the level of trust with your customer, who's going to tell you that it converted.
Okay, so how do you do pay for performance when you have a fixed price? I mean, you don't do revenue share, because my question was, if you do revenue share, then as a startup, you need to start tracking, different vendor that you're pushing lead. That's a lot of overhead. Usually, when you're two people, you don't want to do that. You prefer just to push leads, even just leaving some money on the table just for the sake of selling and moving leads
for sure.
To the vendors. How do you do pay performance by fixed price?
Yeah, by pay for performance, the only thing I meant is that you only paid for completed transactions, not for leads, but for converted leads.
So basically,
you de-risk a conversion.
So you tell them if you have any lead that didn't convert, you can ask for a refund or something.
Or just don't, or don't pay. Yeah, just like tell me.
If you can track conversion, it's easy. If you can't,
I mean, assume that you cannot, right? But
then you have another problem. Then you have to trust me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you put in your agreement, you put audit rights, which nobody ever enforces, but that's what you do. But right. No, you're absolutely right. But this is one of those situations in which I think your conversion of customers will pay for the fact that some of them will not give you 100% of what you really deserve, right? On top of that, what you're going to do is you're going to track over time, right? So you're going to establish certain baseline, and if you see that your leads convert roughly at 60%, and all of a sudden they're paying you now only
30%. You don't send it many leads. You send them somewhere else.
Well, or you're gonna say like, I have that audit clause in my contract. I hate to use it, but could you do me a favor and like try to see maybe like there is something, right?
Okay. So now I have another question, which is not a follow-up. How do you build a compensation package for a sales guy? So usually, what I think, and when I work with sales, I would give them some compensation. But how do you track that? Do you have, do you have any kind of if you meet a goal, then you get that amount of money, and then you get more? How do you keep it simple for the sake of, clarity?
I'll say what I think, and there's so many ways of doing this, and there are so many schools of thought. Like there are people people think about intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation, and how much really does money motivate, and does it not, and what. So what I like to do, sort of intrinsic motivation aside. On the financial side, what I like to do is I basically like to do the following. There's a goal. At 50% of that goal, so there is at-risk compensation and there is a goal, right? So at 50% of goal, below 50% of goal, you get nothing. Above 50%, between 50 and 100, you get something. At 100, you get everything, and then from 100, I like to do an accelerator, because that prevents sandbagging, right? You know what sandbagging is? Oh, like you have a goal, they push it into the next, right? So I do. You can do a straight line, or you can do tiered between 50 and 100, but after 100, I like uncapped. And somewhat accelerated, because then they get that same dollar is worth to them more in this month than it will be in the next month. So they, right?
Unless you have to pay tax. Right. Then if you make more money, then you pay more tax.
If you're having those types of problems, man, like why are you here?
I mean, the key here is to set up realistic goals, because you don't want to have unhappy salespeople. That's number one. So if you think you can sell, 50, if you will give them a goal, 50,000 a month, whatever, and you know that even if they, work 24/7, realistically they can sell 25, that wouldn't give you anything, and they will leave, and you invest in training them, right?
Do you increase the number? If you say, hey, you have to do 50K, do you increase the number, or you always 50K?
It depends.
It really, you can, usually you set up a goal for a year, for 12 months, right? So every year you sign new contract with your salespeople, meaning business, your goals, right? So in that, everything can change, because you guys grow, and all that, right? Now, in traditional sales where I came from, there was always base and there was variable, right? So base, you can play with the base, but the notion was that not every sales lead converts into sales. They still spend time, and sometimes the reason that sales is not closing is not because they were bad. So you kind of comp with the base for this type of stuff. And then on the variable side, I also like uncap, and then you set up a scale. The other thing that you do when you grow, you have certain perks for top salespeople. You create those clubs, you take them to like real top people, you send their families to Hawaii. You see what I mean? So it becomes like real cool to perform.
The family goes to Hawaii.
Right. So then you can play. But yeah.
So there is another, just to add a little bit more to this. So there is also a school of thought. I started saying that there are multiple schools of thought on this, right? So there is another school of thought that basically says, it's not the goal that matters, it's the process that matters, right? Because sometimes you can succeed or you can fail, but what you want is you want people to adhere to a certain process. So I've seen comp plans that are actually not so much based on revenue numbers as adherence to particular benchmarks and processes, like you need to call many people, right? There is something to it. It's not, right. So you heard my first answer, so I don't love the second approach, but there is also something to it, right? So enforcing things other than, or incentivizing behavior as opposed to just focus on the goal also may do some positive things for you. So just think about that, because focusing only on the bottom line also creates weird incentives sometimes, and people do things that they should not be doing.
What do you guys do?
Open press, marketplace for commercial open source.
Oh, okay.
So we do more marketing and lead gen. We've had a few enterprise sales, about $2,500 per license. So we try to find a way to increase those sales.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I need to run. I have a call.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
Thanks.
I can try to answer some.
No, yeah, by all means, keep going. Reach out if you want to dive deeper into anything.
Yeah.
We
can do follow-up. If needed, we can probably get even more people to come. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone? Yes.
Hi, my name is Julian Garcia. I'm founder of InstaGIS. InstaGIS is a geographic information system that allows marketing managers to optimize their target audiences. We go with data sets from government, CRM data, and social networks. We analyze where are the better places to focus your marketing campaigns.
Okay.
The big problem that it has these kind of solutions is that they are very expensive. For example, at least it could cost you $2,000 per month. And my question is how we can land these very big tickets from our website to make it easier or sales effort.
So you think people will pay you $2,000 on your website?
Yeah. So I would like to know how we can make that, because my experience in these 6 months of operation is that I must go, knock the doors.
I don't think anyone will pay $2,000 on your website without you interacting with them. That's my personal opinion.
So we must focus in creating a
I mean,
business team,
let's step back. Who you target customers?
marketing managers,
From what companies?
big retail.
Big retail. Yeah. So for those type of sales, so if you're looking at, Walmarts and Targets of the world, unless, it's something that within the signing budget or everything, you probably will need to work with those brands. Most likely it will not be just them paying $2,000 a month for your services. Right, because that's not how they normally buy. And especially you'll be talking to like CMOs or VP of marketing. You need to understand how their budget's set up, and do they have budgets play this? I mean, so do they have budgets for this type of things, and how the whole purchasing is done, right? And see, because you really need to understand that you know who you'll be selling to, and figure out if 2,000 is something that some kind of marketing manager can sign, or he needs to go all the way up to CMO to get signature for that, If it has to go through some kind of approvals, whatever, then you need to put an effort into that.
The other question is, for this kind of sales, one thing that we are doing in our team is that they can pay $10,000 just to use the software 5 minutes and make a smart decision on the information that they can receive. What do you think that is better for these kind of softwares, that they are not everyday time consuming by our clients, to make 1-year contract and a big check once, or a monthly subscription fee?
The reason sometimes doing subscription is better because of how it hits the books. You see what I mean? So if you look at how they do accounting on their side, it's much easier to do subscription, this type of sales, like $2,000 a month, because it hits different budget bucket on their side. You need to understand a little bit more with some of the brands, because it will make easier for you to sell, even if they use it once a year, whatever. You see what I mean? From how they expense it and how it hits their budget, I know that in some cases they will tell you it's much easier for us to do this way versus the other way. So I would have 2 models in mind, but I just know from the booking, from the financials point of view, they might even willing to pay because it's easier to run through their books.
It will be low risk for them.
It hits different. It hits different budget. Yeah.
Exactly, and they might convert later on.
Right. So have few options and see what make more sense. Yeah.
My last question is, what do you think about free demos in this kind of softwares that they are very time consuming for the team, us?
Like, for you to do demo?
Yeah, for example, Walmart, the data scientists say us, hey, I want to have an experience with your product for free. Many times to start working together, we will need to be there with you, uploading the data sets, teaching all the things. Are you agree that?
You know what? I've done both. In general, I mean, for this type of things, you almost have to do that because it's a Walmart and it's you, right? So they tell you the rules of the engagement. Now, you can try to work with them, meaning you can say, I've done both. Okay, so I've done free and I've done with very well-known company here in the Valley. They had the knowledge engineers in North Carolina, and I had to send a group of people, 2-3 people on our expense for a startup and do proof of concept with them. But my agreement with them was that our team will be there, 5 days. We'll take their data, we'll work with them on that data in 5 days. Here's the things they will be looking at. If it's done, and we sign the deal. So if it's just a play and you guys don't have an agreement on it, like I mentioned at the beginning, what the success is, how and what, and you almost want to sign understanding some kind of statement, MOD, that you understand that this is what you'll be doing, this is the things that they want to see. You work together. If all those things are met, they will purchase. Yeah. And in some cases, I also have done with one of the big companies, very big company. I told them that it was very extensive trial, and I told them that we're a startup, and as much as I want to do that, and I believe we have the best solution for what they need to do, but I just can't afford it. So I told them, here's our expenses. If you can cover this, like 25,000, yeah, right, yeah. So you can, and you can always play with it. You say, okay, maybe you can comp us for that. If we close the deal, we'll reimburse you. I haven't. I just said, okay, I know we have the best solution. I'm confident you'll save that much money, but you need just to pay for our expense.
For the case of very big clients, what happens to me in my country is very small, 16 million. Is that I look the face to the guy and I know more or less how much I can charge him fee. What do you think about it here? It's not have like a rate for all of us. If you're Walmart, you're Walmart. You are allowed to pay a little more if you are, I don't know, a smaller company.
Meaning, if you're talking to Walmart, you want to charge them more than you charge the other companies?
Yeah.
I think you can. It all depends on the value, right? So if you can justify value, you're talking about pricing of your product, right? Yeah, so it comes back to our first discussion, how you price it, right? So if you can justify value, the impact for Walmart is much higher than for a smaller company, right? So the value is much higher. As long as you can justify that, you know what, if we will tell you exactly who to sell and this, that will give you so much revenue. So this is nuggets compared to, what the gain is. And for the smaller, it will be smaller, so you can play with that. Yeah. Good luck. Okay. Yeah.
Streaming. My name is Alvaro San Martin. I am from Flock, FLOQQ.com, and we sell video courses about fun and new things to learn. Okay, we are lucky. We are in a really big industry. It's the second largest industry in the world because education is everywhere. There's lots of money we spend in our lives, first in medication and then in education. So we are the second thing that people buy. But we are not selling it traditionally because you traditionally go to the university, to go to the school, and you go there to buy it. Udemy, yeah. We are focused on the Spanish market right now. So our idea now is, in order to generate growth, to have some of the courses for free, because right now they are paid courses, really high quality, top teachers. But we are thinking on setting, lower the barrier, let people get in, try the courses, because we have a really, really good retention of our customers. But I have this feeling of, I'm gonna let them get it for free. How am I gonna get them pay again back? If you have YouTube and all that out there, I don't know if you have any experience on that, on having a product first tested for free, and how do you go back to the pay? Well, it's up to $20 to $25 per ticket.
Obviously, you can tell them upfront, right? First class is free. So expectations set up up front. It's not like you get everything for free. You just say. You always have to put. Yeah, exactly. You always set up timing, so it's not free for whenever. So that creates this sense of urgency. So I have to use it in the next 2 weeks, right? So say 2 weeks. You take first class for free within 2 weeks, and after that.
Any other motivation that you think that can make them try?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking because I were in the same. I'm still in the same situation.
Right,
so,
right.
so actually, I mean, we can. So basically, we're just thinking about the same issue. So basically, should I just make it now for them just to try, and I have a good retention numbers. So they just can now try for free, and then they come later and pay me, right? So if you're going to make it for free for a period of time, I mean, you're looking so basically you're giving a barrier for the people who's just getting there because it's free, you know. So there's a lot of people who wants your service for free. Many people who, when you say you're free, they're going to come in and use your service for free, and they're not going to pay if you say I'm going to convert it to paid service now. So what I recommend, until you reach a stable state of revenue and you're generating a good amount of revenues that just keep you, like, even if it was a small growth you have, okay, then you can open the free for like 6 months. So because you have money already, you already have your own customers coming in. Okay, so you've reached a stable growth state.
Yeah, in a previous pivot that we did, because we
is quite costly. In India, it is just that, and people don't know how to compare schools, which school, what is the process like, what's happening, and for working parents, it's a major hassle. So they have to track all the schools and all those things. So we're creating a sort of control panel. They log in, they tell us what they are looking in a school. We give them a list of the schools which will match them 100%, 80%, 60%. Then they choose, okay, I want alerts for this school, that school. So that's
just there are limited spaces they need to get in, they know.
Yeah, so there's a lot of competition in schools. We have seen a growing trend over the past 3 years.
They can do that process online, everything.
So
they can
that's
upload the
That's
certificates.
real cool. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
So,
like,
but it's the marketing angle which I'm looking at.
and this is like Yelp as well.
Yeah,
They can review.
Yeah. So it's not just we are not just looking at reviews. We believe that it's just one of the signals, but it can be distorted because reviews can be gamed also.
You're looking at how many graduates were admitted to college, what's the average grade level, neighborhood.
Yeah, lot many factors. So we are taking data from various points and also creating school reports. So school in this case, in India, it starts from kindergarten admissions. It's not the US system that we have a junior school, then kindergarten, junior high school, then a middle school. So in India, it's a 14-year decision. You have to make it right. If you have a wrong decision, so you'll be doing it throughout your life because it's very difficult to get admissions in the senior classes in India. Right? So there's a lot of investment. People even give donations, willing to pay up to 4 million rupees or 5 million rupees to get into a school of their choice. And they believe it's the opportunity cost for doing that. So we have created this product, so we're working on still finalizing it, but how do we market it? So we have two options. One is going directly B2C, directly marketing to the consumers, the parents, media, whatever channels which we can use through our own websites, etc. Other way is to using it like a B2B sales. We approach the corporates. We tell them, okay, your employees take 10 days leaves, right? They go off from job, they stop working during the admission season. And we can help you solve that problem. Why don't you buy this product from us? And you can get these licenses, just give them the logins and they can manage this process. So in this case, there are some huge corporates with about 5,000-10,000 employees working, and if we believe that at least 4 to 5% of them every year will be facing this problem. So that, in this case, become a corporate sales thing. So we have to market the corporates. Other option available is to directly approach the play schools. The play schools in India are for kids below 3 years, post 2 years, and parents. Yeah, right. So and parents in this case are relying on the play schools to suggest them what is the right strategy, how to go about admissions in schools in Delhi or any other city in India. So play schools also face this problem that they might not be able to do the research which we are able to do. So one way is to actually do some kind of partnerships with the play schools, offer them an incentive, and say, okay, you've got 100 kids, we are selling this product in the market for say $50 or $100, we'll give it to you for 40 or 60, but you give us 100 kids which are graduating this year, and you can market it to them for say or whatever. They're still getting discounts. So what would the right way in this case, because we'll be launching this product in August. We've got 2 months to strategize and finalize.
Okay.
It depends.
I think selling to big company and have them kind of covering costs for the employees is really cool. Now, I don't know what type of incentives are important, what the retention rate, how competitive the job environment, how important it is for those companies who employ so many people to actually fight for the retention and make sure employees are happy, how much they're losing with people taking those 4 or 5 days.
I can say
so,
just in case of the IT company.
So hold on. I'm not questioning what I think it will be real good to meet with human resources person and to validate it, right? And you will get a reaction because you would know until you talk with human resources. Right. To invest your time and meet with human resources of one of the companies, I don't think that's hard. And it shouldn't be that difficult. At least you will know whether it's real or not. Now, if you're looking on all those play schools and end-to-end, I think it's exactly the same. Because play schools are small, there are zillions of them, And most likely, you need to do one-on-one. I mean, they probably don't have distribution list. The same with people. Now, when you market to people, there is a chance it will go viral because they tell their friends in the neighborhood, they go to play school, they tell other parents. So from efforts that it'll take, it might be easier to go to
There will be
parents.
cost of marketing involved in this case, which
There's the cost of
someone feel
marketing.
what we might not be able to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Because if you think about it, like they
Totally agree,
they meet their kids, they talk about next school. So they will do what you play school, but the effort will be almost the same. It's almost easier to see if parents use like certain social networks on.
So our platform in itself is a social network.
Okay.
We have around 50,000 registered families.
Because I think from marketing, you will spend the same, even more difficult time marketing all those play schools as you do to parents. And parents can do this viral, especially if you
You have
put incentives.
50,000. You don't need more, man.
And if you put incentives for parents, like we talked about someone else, well, if you refer 10 other parents, you'll get whatever. Make it viral to parents. I think
Generally, that's not how the psychology in India works. So the market is quite different. Affiliate marketing is not so
It's
hot,
not.
right?
But people like free, right?
Yeah, they like free, but
Discount.
yeah.
So if they still,
But $4, $5
who's paying you, by the way?
in this case, the parents.
Parents.
Parents, right? So we're creating the product for parents. So again, we have something for the schools also because we are sort of conduits in between, right? And it's very difficult to market to schools. So we're targeting parents.
Yeah, so with parents, it doesn't have to be free service to free to use your service. So,
We
for
already
example,
are free for, that's a classic problem which we're coming to.
So,
we are free for past 4 years, so now we are
no,
launching
get them paid.
Yeah.
Because you know how much pain is sold, but tell them if you introduce, then parents will give you gift card to Starbucks. You see what I mean? It doesn't have to be your service is free.
Yeah.
It can be $5 gift card. Because people love whatever that is. You know, $5 gift card to Starbucks. It's cool. You know? And if you look at some of the companies like Shop It To Me or some other ones, that's how they build up their audience. They were, doing online sales and they said, get 10 people to sign up, we'll send you $10 Macy's card. That's it. Like magic. So to me, it seems like it's easier to get viral with just parents. From marketing, from your cost of leads.
Yeah, I'm thinking, why you're not like talking to the schools instead, like doing some contracts with the schools, okay, and people when they come, they sign up for a school for their child. You can then take the commission from the school instead. So
we can't do that in India, right? So that will be illegal. Schools are
illegal. Yeah, that's fair.
Schools by law are non-profit, right? So they, the major companies
the
are
private schools are not for profit.
Not for profit, right? They are run by trust. So the companies have come out with ways to hold us like this.
Yeah.
They've set up service companies which provide services to these schools and take the money out. This is how it's operating in India. And yeah, exactly. So there's no privatization even though there's private schools.
Well, I'm just thinking that it's just marketing effort. It's almost, it's not like you have one play school with 10,000 kids. You have all those little small.
The thing is, it's a new product. So we were ideally looking at endorsement. So if it comes from the play school or from the company, then it comes with a sort of endorsement saying the HR manager is saying that this product will help. So the company is already saying that.
Why don't you interview parents and vote them or help me to find the best school?
Fact is, in India, the internet penetration is not that high, right? So if every year just in Delhi, there are around, say, 150,000 parents applying for admissions. So we get 10,000 of them online, right? So we are leaving out 140,000. So maybe, but those kids, for them, their kids are already going to play schools. For that, for 40,000, they're already working somewhere, maybe some big corporate. So if we actually go through that route, maybe we believe there might be more conversions or something. Then again, the word of mouth will again start. That will all.
I think.
Yeah.
sometimes you can spend a lot of time trying to figure out. Sometimes you just go and try it.
Right.
Go to one place, go see if conversion rate is good or bad. You just, from an effort, you have always many of those places. So but if conversion rate is real high, you go and try it. Go to one place, go sign up whatever you want with them, and say, if we convert, you'll get 1% of those. You'll make money. Whatever you're allowed to do, whatever you're allowed to know. Try it. If it works, then say, wow, it's much better than if we spend money for parents.
Exactly.
And get some quotes, but seems to me, maybe initially just to get some kind of endorsement, but viral should probably do it at the parents.
Actually, on a very short time. So
right, yeah,
that's the problem.
Because they probably start when in January. Or
So it should start in August.
in August.
We just have 2 months to have this. We're trying
So-
some guerrilla marketing tactics.
Another thing, what you need to think, if you build this global platform, why don't you look at other things, after school activities, tutoring, camps?
You're actually looking at that.
You're
That's a
looking-
long term.
Right. I mean, to get into, some, so, right, because what ideally you want to do is that you spend so much time and everything to acquire parents of kids. What else you can do with them that's not so seasonal?
So we are working on that.
Right,
So that has to come from the investor's perspective as opposed to meeting with Dave and his team, brainstorm.
Yeah, you absolutely need to come up with.
So that is something we plan to do, long-term engagement factor, because we believe that we acquired a very valuable consumer here. We can hold them on 14 years when they started in school. We can do more with that.
Yeah, like look at the activity here.
Exactly.
You know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And all the other. And even if you go with the real low-hanging fruit and just build communities, discussion forums for parents, where they can talk, then you can see what they talk about. And